Today we will discuss the fifth module of WC and LTE 4G broadband subject. Fifth module gives the information about data flow, radio resource management and mobility management. Myself, Prabha K, Assistant Professor, ECE Department, SVIT, Bangalore. As you know already, Module 5 consists of EPS bearer service, PDCP overview, MAC and RLC overview, RRC overview. All these topic has been covered in the previous class. Today we move on to the next topic, mobility management and inter-cell interference coordination. LTE mobility management is categorized into two groups, mobility within the LTE system and mobility to other system. So based on the within LTE or with other system, these are classified into two types of mobility, S1 mobility and X2 mobility. S1 mobility is similar to the UMTO service serving radio network system. X2 mobility is the default mode operation in LTE system. Both mobility system has three phase of operation that we call it as an preparation phase, execution phase and completion phase. S1 interface. S1 interface consists of three phases: preparation, execution and completion. Preparation phase. Once a decision has been made for a handover and target MME and E node have been identified, the network needs to allocate the resources on the target side of the impending handover. These are the preparation phase that has to be carried out between the two end users, that will be carried out once the decision has made for handovering of the entire communication channel. Then the target mobility management unit, that is the entity, MME, mobility management entity and E node will get identified by the network, and now network needs to allocate the resources on the target side of the impending handover. The MME sends the handover request to the target E node B, requesting it to set up an appropriate resources for the user equipment. In the execution phase, once the user equipment receives the handover command, it responds by performing and various RAN related procedures needed for handovering of the signals, including accessing the target E node B using RACH, that is a random access channel. While the user equipment performs the handover, the source E node initiates the status transfer between the user equipment, where the PDCP content will be utilized to transfer the information to the target E node. In the completion phase, when the target E node receives the handover confirm message, it sends handover notify message to the MME. The MME then informs the source E node to release the resources originally used by the user equipment. All these three phases in the S1 interface can be easily analyzed with this diagram. This diagram gives you the mobility management over the S1 interface. You can make out here, starting the source E node of the user equipment will send a handover request to the source mobility management entity. Once this receives the handover request, the source MME puts the information or forward that reallocation request to the target mobility management entity. Now the target mobility management informs to the target E node. Once the target E node comes to know about the handover request, it creates a resource setup, and immediately after this resource allocation, the and handover request acknowledgement will be sent to the target MME. From the target MME, this forward reallocation response signal will be sent to the source MME. In turn, the source MME gives the handover command to the source eNode, and source eNode makes the user equipment to transfer the data by sending an handover command. The user equipment transfers the data over the RACH access. After transferring the data, there will be a handover confirm signal will be sent to the target eNode, and this target eNode will send the handover notify to the target MME. The target MME sends the forward reallocation signal indicating the completion of the data transfer to the source mobility management entity. Thereby, the source mobility management entity releases all the resources allocated, thus completing the data transfer over the S1 interface. Coming to the X2 mobility. The X2 mobility is the default mode of operation in LTE unless an X2 interface is not available between the source and target eNodes. Mobility over the X2 interface consists of 3 steps: preparation phase, execution phase, and the completion phase. In the preparation phase, once the decision will be taken to hand over by the source eNode, it sends the handover request message to the target eNode. The target eNode, upon receipt of this message, works within the MME and the service gateway to set up the resources for the user equipment. In the execution phase, upon receiving the handover request acknowledgement, the source eNode sends a handover command to the user equipment. While the user equipment completes the various radio access network related handover procedures, and the source eNode starts the status and data transfer to the target eNode. In the completion phase, once the user equipment completes the handover procedure of data as well as status information, it sends the hand off complete message to the target eNode. Then the target eNode B sends path switch request to the MME and service gateway, and the service gateway switches the GTP tunnel from the source eNode to the target eNode. When the data path in the plane is switched, the target eNode sends the message to the source eNode to release the resources originally used by the user equipment. This diagram gives you the clear picture about the mobility management over the X2 interface. You can make out very clear that there is a single mobility management entity along with the servicing gateway which will involve in handovering of the signal between the target eNode and the source eNode. Starting, the source eNode sends a handover request to the target eNode. The target eNode allocates the resources. This procedure we call it as a resource setup. Once the resources are allocated, the handover request acknowledgement is sent back to the source eNode. Then source eNode initiates an handover command to the user equipment. The user equipment sends an data and the status information over the RACH channel using the RACH protocol. Then after completion of the data transfer, it sends an handover confirmation signal to the target eNode. Then the target eNode sends the path switch request to the mobility management and the service gateway, and this request will be acknowledged by the same to the source eNode through target eNode in order to release the resources which are allocated to the user equipment. Now we'll move on to the next subtopic, paging. Paging is the connection control function of RRC protocol. The paging message is used to inform the user equipment in the RRC ideal or RRC connected state about the system information. The user equipment in the RRC ideal state also monitors a paging channel to detect the incoming calls. Change of system information only occurs at the specific radio frames and the concept of modification period is used. Within a modification period, the system information can be transmitted a number of times with the same content. Next topic is about inter-cell interference coordination. Each user equipment suffers inter-cell interference due to the frequency reuse in other cells. Conventional cellular network by design are interference limited. It would be possible to increase the spectrum efficiency by lowering the frequency reuse or by increasing the average loading per cell. In order to meet the spectrum efficiency target, LTE has deployed a universal frequency reuse, that is, the same spectrum will be reused in each cell. This will cause a high level of inter-cell interference, especially for a user equipment at the cell edge. LTE also has a mandate to increase the cell edge throughput. So, in order to mitigate the ICE, we require different techniques which will be used for both downlink and uplink transmissions. These techniques we call it as ICE mitigation techniques. Inter-cell interference mitigation techniques. For downlink, how this ICE can be mitigated or it can be reduced. ICE randomization is one of the technique. In this technique, we achieve the reduction in the inter-cell interference by scrambling the code word after the channel coding with a pseudo random sequence. This scrambling is called as cell-specific scrambling. ICI from neighboring cell can be randomized and then interference suppression is achieved. Another technique is ICI cancellation. If user equipment is able to decode the interfering signals, it can intercell generate and then subtract them from the desired signal. To decode the interfering signal from the neighboring cells, the user equipment needs to know its transmission format. This is one of the major requirements in order to cancel the ICI. ICI coordination or avoidance is achieved by applying restriction to the downlink resource management, which is coordinated between the neighboring cells. The restrictions can be on time or frequency resources or transmit power used at each e-node. Static ICI coordination or avoidance. This is one of the technique which is mainly done during the cell planning process and does not require frequent reconfiguration. Semi-static ICI coordination or avoidance is typically requires a reconfiguration on time scale of order of seconds or longer, and inter-e-node communication over the X2 interface is needed in this technique. The information exchange between the neighboring e-nodes can be transmission power and traffic load on different resource blocks. In this technique, the ICI suppression is more efficient. The next technique is coordinated multi-point transmission. To improve cell edge performance, advanced techniques with a more sophisticated coordination has been deployed in order to mitigate the ICI. This technique we call it as multi-point transmission or reception technique. In this diagram, it is very clear that what are the power in the respective cell with respect to frequency. The power in the cell 1, is high during starting part of the frequency spectrum, and during the next cell 2 is having the maximum power, next cell 3 is the maximum power. This figure gives you the possible downlink power levels at the 3 neighboring cells. Uplink techniques used to mitigate the ICI, inter-cell interference. The first technique is ICI randomization. This is similar to the downlink ICI randomization. In this randomization, Same scrambling of the data is done by encoding the symbols prior to the modulation. Instead of cell-specific scrambling as used in the downlink, in this we use a specific scrambling is used in the uplink as ICI comes from the multiple user equipments. ICI cancellation. ICI cancellation is more applicable in the uplink than in the downlink as the eNode has a higher computational capability. Uplink low power control. Power control is an efficient way to suppress the ICI in the uplink. That can be done by using the FPC technique, that is a fractional power control, which is used in LTA. ICE coordination or avoidance. Similar coordination techniques are discussed for the downlink. The same thing is used for the uplink. Thank you. This is the completion of the module 5 of WC and LTE 4G broadband subject.